Okay, hello and welcome. So today we're playing the top 4 match of the Plague League Season 3. As I know my opponents, I've metagamed a little bit. There's a few changes here. Generally, I believe my opponent is probably going to be playing on Momentary Blink, so I've metagamed against that. General changes for Kaldheim have been Priest of the Haunted Edge, which is fabulous. A complete change to all of the basics, because snow-covered lands are better. It enables you to play 4 Mystic Sanctuary. I don't think I necessarily agree with this list as a general idea. I would definitely play something with a little more play to it in the early game. But as noted, this is just meant to get things going and to be a slow deck that has very particularized removal. You'll see that my sideboard is mostly meant to change things back to how it was, and also to change things if my opponent shows up with something unexpected. So normally Moment of Craving would be in the main deck, and I wouldn't be playing Memory Leak. I might be playing fewer removal spells, things like that. I probably wouldn't be playing Suffocating Fumes. That's just generally where I'd be at. Alright, so let's see here. Just to briefly talk about this, this is the blue Snowball deck. I think this is the simplest deck to play for this type of a matchup. I was considering playing Turbo Fog, as I think it has a very polarized matchup against Momentary Blink, but it was a little too risky and I didn't quite have the list where I wanted it to be. And I do think the Turbo Fog is a really bad deck, except when it's a really good deck in very, very particular matchups. You'll notice I've also bumped a third Bazooka Bog into the main, and we'll see where that goes. That's just meant to cut out the Momentary Blinks and the Mystic Sanctuaries that my opponent has access to. So great, let's send a match request, and we will be getting this party underway. So we're playing a single best 2 out of 3 match, which is, and we're on the play, which is excellent. This hand is great. It's a little annoying that I have to burn a Sanctuary Relief, but it's fine. We're going to see if my opponent did anything really particular to their deck, or if I'm just going to get gotten in game 1. I don't think that there's anything that's super terrible for me that can happen. I mean, my opponent could be playing Turbo Fog, which would be interesting. It looks like my opponent is not on Turbo Fog, and we're just going to play our normal matchup here. So the trick is for me to get as much damage in as early as possible, and that's going to be with value creatures. I'm probably going to run Rager as my turn 2, and here's a question. I don't know if I actually want to attack with Lampad. My opponent, I have their deck list from this from week 8 of the Plague League, and I think that it's probably better not to attack here, because I don't want to get swift responsed, as Lampad is one of the best ways to win the game. So instead, I'm just going to play Rager here, and we're going to work our way up to Ascended Secrets. I'll Memory Leak them on a more convenient turn. Okay, and this is a good draw, as we're going to want to be able to remove stuff. Yeah, I'm just trying to play around certain cards that I know they have. I don't expect that they've metagamed against me, but it's entirely possible they have. So we're going to start by sending for 2. For reference, I expect that, okay, so they're going to trade with me here potentially, and that's fine. I don't mind trading 2 of their guys for my Rager. We have our Recursion Engine with Wander and Death, so that's fine. I think I'm just going to play this because I need to hit a land, and I'd actually like to avoid playing Bazooka Bog if at all possible until later. as I want to catch as many instants and sorceries in their graveyard and as many other things of that nature. Alright, so I think this is a good time to memory leak them, as it will put some pressure on the way that they have to interact with me. Alright, I also have to play pretty fast as this matchup goes really long. Okay, so they do have Swift Response, they do have Momentary Blink. They do have Flicker of Fate as well. And the question is, do I want to like cut an Acolyte? I think probably where I want to be is Momentary Blink. And the Acolytes are going to be annoying, but I think I'm going to be able to play through them. So in this Exiles, which is nice. And I'll recur that later. I don't see a reason to really do anything else here. I can bluff an attack, which sounds kind of interesting. There's no reason not to attack here, so let's just do that. And if my opponent chooses to make a big aviary mechanic over the next, like, 3 turns, that's fine. I'm going to burn the Bazooka Bog because I have more of them, and because I need to be able to hit all my land drops, and being on 6 on the next turn is going to be very critical. So I expect that my opponent is probably not going to Acolyte on this turn, because it doesn't get all the counters that it wants to get. And they're going to try and play around various pieces of removal. So now they're going to be playing their effect, which is fine. And I think what I want to do is actually attack with the Oracle. It looks really weird, and it's just inviting a... Okay, it's inviting this, which is fine. My opponent's going to take a turn off, it looks like. What they're going to do is they're going to Omen of the Sun into Acolyte on a token in the mechanic. And that's fine. Okay, good. I get to take to the skies. Getting in chip shot damage whenever possible with this deck is really important. I got a second Cloud Concealer. That's excellent. Okay, my opponent's stuck on lands. That, I think, is probably because they've only played 22 lands, which is a little bit short normally. And I noticed they haven't updated with snow lands. And it'll be interesting to see how much that affects things. Okay, now the Acolyte as expected. Oh, they decided they wanted 2 2s. Okay, well, I'm going to take 2. That's fine. And they're going to start beating down, but I've got some responses to that. I think that I can afford to take a little bit more damage. So, look, I'm definitely doing this because we can't afford to let them Flicker of Fate it. Then I'm going to hold back these 2, as all damage is not good damage, so to speak. I'll Priest next turn. Oh, maybe, oh, that was actually a huge mistake. I should have Priested this turn, because then I could kill the Acolyte if that's what they do. So that was a big mistake. That's unfortunate. We're going to see if that gets out of control. Yeah, this was a mistake. I definitely should have played Priest of the Haunted Edge. I forgot that I need to tap it in the normal way, and I need to be able to kill this thing. And then also I would have gotten a better block. So, yeah, let's go to blockers, and let's eat a free mechanic. We'll take 6. Life doesn't really matter that much. And it's really that I gave them 2 counters that I didn't need to give them. So I got really lucky and got kind of paid out of that, which is nice. Alright, play a land, get in for 4. I'm going to take 3 on this next turn. Actually, no, I'm going to take none, because I'm going to actually sack the Seagate Oracle. And then I'm going to recur it and the Rager in the next turn to just build a board, because I need to get something going, and at this point, Wander in Death is where I need to be. Okay, so they have Ancestral Statue. Sure. It's fine, they'll bring back their thing. So we'll block and we'll block, and then I'll sack the Oracle, drain them for 1, and we're good to go. Alright, now we've got Salvager, so that is going to be a beating and a half here, I expect. I think I'm just going to deploy Salvager right now and bring back Secrets, as that's where I need to be. I just need to be getting as far ahead as possible. Okay, let's see. So how are my blocks going to go here? Let's think about this. I should keep attacking if I can. And I think I'm going to trade off my lamp pad. It's not ideal, but I need to be getting damage through, and this is the only way to do it. So I'm going to have Priest is going to block something, and then we're going to double block one of the tokens and kill it. And then in future turns, we're going to start recurring the Salvager and stuff, and it's going to be great. Okay, so they're taking a moment to kill that, and that's fine. I do want to sacrifice and drain them for 1. Playing that main phase is like a little weird, but they might be trying to avoid letting me do sacrifice tricks later, I would guess. But this game looks pretty good right now. We're generally ahead on the board. They have a few more cards, but we're on 4 secrets, and that's going to be really good in this game. They typically only play 3 secrets, so they're pacifying me. I see. In that case, I'm actually not going to ditch the lamp pad. I'd rather let things go for a little bit longer. So I think what I need here, they're stuck on mana, which is nice. And I want to remove some of their threats. Before Flicker of Fate comes online, I'm going to take out this thing. I'm also going to recur. I'm trying to figure out what I'd like to recur here. I think recurring Memory Leak is actually going to be... No, I want to be attacking, so we'll recur Obnixilus's Cruelty, and I'll draw it. Perfect. And then I'm just going to attack for 3, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with this. I think what I'm going to do is just... I think I can afford to. It's very close. I'm going to kill off one of these, as we're at a low enough life total that it matters, and then I'll just pass. And if my opponent has something for the lamp pad, I can drain them, and they're at a low enough life total that it's a problem for them. And otherwise, I will pull the trigger on lamp pad, starting to sack the other creatures, and we'll create a Salvager loop. As I can't get rid of the pacifism, so I might as well be doing things like this. So they are going to gain a little bit of life, but I'm not really worried about that. Because I also have fumes. So that allows me to go back to the skies and such. The question is, what do I want to play? I think I need to go back to the air to have a chance in this game, and I need to just keep chipping in. So we'll draw this. Got a Cruelty, and I think I will just stay on the ground here, as I want to play through both the Omen and the actual Flicker of Fate, because I expect that they're going to pull the trigger on that next turn, and I really want to get them with fumes. It looks like this is pretty much the stock list of what I'm expecting. I'm going to cut the Ice Tunnel, I think. Or I'm going to take Ice Tunnel. I just can't afford that much of a life loss, and I do want more lands because I'm going to be recurring card draw spells. We're obviously not attacking. And then my opponent is going to Omen, and that's fine. We don't care about Omen. This is what happens when the fact that I get to play effectively sideboard cards in my main deck when someone doesn't get nailed down to a specific deck. I would be less confident against other players who have a larger range, and it would help keep me a little more honest in the way that I'm trying to do this. So we're going to get to sacrifice this creature. There's no point in leaving them around. The only thing that, oh, they can't even respond with Flicker because the sacrifice happens as a cost. And now I will chip in for 2. It's all about the little pieces of damage. I'll go get secrets. Actually, I almost want to get memory leak against this hand because I don't know what they're doing. And I've got enough gas for now. I could run out of gas. It's possible. Okay, so I'm going to play secrets, and then I'm going to play a land, and I'm not going to have to discard. I'm not quite ready to pull the trigger on anything there, so I'm just going to play a basic island, and I will pass the turn to them. If they flicker a fate, then I'm probably going to fumes them. I assume that they haven't sideboarded based that they're showing me all the same cards as normal. Because of that, I'm actually going to... I should fumes them. They might have more flickers or more things. So, I'll fumes them now. It stops anything nonsensical from happening. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to cut off avenues of attack. No, they had a second flicker. Okay, that's fine. Maybe I was a little too aggressive on that, but I think it's okay. Okay, now they're drawing more cards. I expect that somewhere in here they're going to cast secrets. And my next couple turns will mostly be like Riverwinder and chipping in and stuff. Okay. So they have Roman Ghostlight probably for my Cloudkin Seer. No targets. I would have at least targeted the Lampad or the Priest. Like, they don't have enters the battlefield effects. I don't know what my opponent has on this. I assume that what they're doing is just they have a stop in my somewhere, just because. Because I don't care anymore, I think that this Priest is actually worse than the alternative, so I'm just going to burn it right now and kill that. And then I could get really aggressive, but I think that just chipping in for 2 is fine. And we'll keep developing our board. There's no sweepers in these colors. I'll deploy a Serpent, and I'll land, and I'll sit on this, and I'll probably fumes them if anything relevant happens. I don't know why they've set stops in their upkeep. Oh, they've set stops in their upkeep. That's what they were trying to do, and they set one in mine. That makes sense. I think what I'm going to do is just kill this thing at end step and then go for the kill. Now I get to just shove with all my creatures. And if they have some stuff related to like another Omen of the Sun, that's fine. And that blows them out. And that's game 1 in the bag pretty much. Yep. Okay, so we got there based on our modified deck here. I don't think we're really going to sideboard. My opponent pretty much knows what I'm playing because I post my list like basically at all times, and I know pretty much what my opponent's playing because they've posted their list. Now I've seen them do some interesting stuff. Typically they bring in Essence Scatter, and they bring in Salvager of Secret, they bring in like 3 Essence Scatter, 2 Salvager of Secrets, 2 Dauntless Unity, and then they typically bring in Negates, and I don't think Negates are correct, but that's how it is. Debating on a Memory Leak and a Duress, or some combination thereof. I might also want to bring in more suffocating fumes for the post-board games. I think that would be correct. The reason that I want more suffocating fumes in the post-board games is because I need them to... they get countered by Dauntless Unity, so I need to redraw them more times. And let's see, I don't think the River Winders are where I actually want to be. So what I'm going to bring in is I'll bring in that and a Duress. They usually have cards in hand. And I think this is where I want to be for game number 2. It seems like they haven't updated for Snowlands and they're playing the same list. I think that's defensible, but I think that their deck really wants more Secrets of the Golden City. So going up to 4 Mystic Sanctuary, which is one of the things you can do when you're playing Snowlands and you effectively have 4 additional islands, is really useful and something that I would want to do with this Blink deck. And I think this Blink deck is very good, and I think that Howl has done a great job perfecting it and taking it to a level that I didn't think it could be taken to. I disagree with some of the choices, but overall, I think it's very good. Let's see here. Yeah, this is perfect. I'm just going to go Ice Tunnel. I'm going to do some stuff. I don't think I'm going to Duress immediately, as I can wait a turn or two. However, I might want to Duress here, and that's a question. I think I don't... To Duress or not to Duress? I think I shouldn't Duress, and then I should just continue developing my board. The reason for that is, the question is, am I trying to hit Omen of the Sun, or am I trying to hit like a Blink effect, or what? Okay, so now I'm going to Duress. Oh, that makes it a little awkward, but it's fine. I do want to see what they're cooking with. Okay, so they kept pacifisms in. I don't think that's a good move, but I'm definitely taking secrets. They did leave this in. So I'm going to Bazooka Bog them, as I don't want them to recur the secrets. And then, interesting, this thing doesn't have Defender. I'm so used to something like this having Defender, so I can attack with it, which is both very good and very bad. If I accidentally click attack all or something. They're going to pacify my creature. That's a really interesting choice, but... So let's see. I'll just zip around Negate. I don't really like Negate against my deck. I don't think it does what they're trying to do. And... just do this and pass. I'm saving my Priest of the Haunted Edge for something like Salvager when it gets played. But Salvager can't be played right now because none of these cards are... like, they don't line up well. Okay, so now we get... pacified again, and I'm going to Cloudkin Seer. I'm debating at some point about Mystic Sanctuarying back the Duress, but I don't think that's where I want to be at this moment. So I'll just play another Priest and slow the tide. At some point I might choose to kill the Oracle, but I have no action on the ground, so there's no real point. Alright, so now is the time that I should recur. And it's super easy. I really like how easy it is to get to 3 islands now. The Snowlands really haven't made a big difference. I should note that as such in some of my reviews, that I underrated the Snowlands a bit. To be fair, what I ended up overrating was Snakeskin Veil, which I think is a fabulous card. If I were playing on the other side of the matchup, I probably would have brought Green Stompy, as that's actually here. We're going to do it this way. We're going to recur the creature, develop my board a little bit, use all of my mana, and then actually I do want to take the time to kill this when I know that they don't have a flicker effect. So that's an important thing to note when you're playing against Momentary Blink. It's just about grinding them out in various ways. Okay, so they have a negate, and I'm going to make them burn that negate against my Duress. And then what I'm going to do is sneak secrets in after that. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine, we don't care. Let's see, 4, yeah, so I have enough permanents, so that means I get 3 cards, and because of how aggressive I want to be, I don't think there's anything they can do that really matters here, so I'm debating on if I want to burn a creature to kill this, or what, and I think the answer is yes. So I'll just attack, and then I will invest in more cards here. And I'm just doing this because it attacks. Okay, yeah, that doesn't really do much for them. Yeah, especially here. I think, again, I should just kill their creature and continue tempoing them here. And if they try and flicker it, I murder in response. So I was willing to be a little more aggressive there. And I think for my next spell, assuming this connects, I just want to draw cards. The reasoning for that is it would be nice to get something else on the board, but I'm just trying to get raw cards here to... Oh, interesting. I was trying to find a land, just because one of the things that's a choke point on my options is that I don't have lands right now. Okay, so let's see what they're doing over there. Okay, so they make some guys, that's fine. We can always Suffocating Fumes them. We'll see what if they have a second one or something. Looks like they do. Dauntless Unity. How about no? And that's got to be pretty good for us, yeah. Okay, that was pretty matter of fact. Obviously I got to metagame a little bit for game 1. But for game 2, I got to just show the general strength of the deck, and that worked out pretty well. Yeah, it's the weird thing when you've got a playoff match where you don't have to play the same list as any particular past list, that you get to really like play around with what you're doing, and you don't have to worry about an entire metagame. Here, we'll just briefly glance at this deck for a second, and I'll look at the other one. Anyway, so we've gotten this, and hopefully I'll have the recording for the next one soon. I might just mix them together. So this list turned out pretty well, and I think it's good for what it was trying to do. But just briefly to show you what it should look like. This is still a work in progress, as we're only on day 2 or 3 of Kaldheim. I think this is much closer to what I would be playing. I think that the inclusion of Priest is amazing, though, and it replaces your Reavers to a large extent, because this becomes a mobile removal spell. It ups your 2-drop count, and it's a great card to have early, as you can block some things and then exchange it out for something that's more useful. I think this is really going to improve the more aggressive matchups and stompy matchups, given that this thing is basically an unlimited removal spell, given how many snowlands you have. The only downside is that Snakeskin Veil is going to be a beating and a half, so I'm probably going to be playing some of those decks in the future. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll probably just continue us to the next match, given how fast this was. Okie dokie, welcome back. We're here for the finals today of Season 3 of the Plague League Historic Pauper series. I know this is a little bit later. I'm going to bundle these 2 videos together, and it's taken us a little bit of time to get the finals underway, but we're into Kaldheim, and I'm getting used to all the new cards. I'm, again, going to be playing this deck just because I think it's the best deck, and I would like to win this championship if possible. And if I lose it, that's That's understandable, and I hope my opponent brings a good deck and we play some good games regardless of how it goes. So, I've made a few changes. Namely, I've decided that this is going to be the traditional main board that I will be playing. I'm not going to try and metagame against my opponent Sunnyvale. Sunnyvale is the other top point scorer in this series, and also he scored a higher average than I did even when I was playing Snowball by like 5 points a week or something like that. I think I have a positive record against him this season. We just had different results over the course of the weeks. So this is my default. This is what I would play every single week in every single tournament in Historic Pauper. The main changes that you'll see are that instead of a Lazatop Reaver, I'm playing a Myers Grasp. There's a lot of new aggro decks. I like this as a stickier card than Last Gasp, etc. I'm now just playing 4 Cruelty in the main. I'll bring in Libations if I need to against a deck that plays enchantments or plays hexproof. I'd rather not try and metagame against that. Otherwise, everything else is fairly standard. It's possible that I should be playing 2 Salvagers, one in the main, one on the side, against kind of grindy control decks, but this deck does well enough against those anyway. Alright, without further ado, we'll bring you into the finals match. Okay, here we are, playing against Sunnyvale, our general competitor from this season, and I've won the roll, which is always big. This hand is fabulous. We get to have a 2-drop removal spell and some 3-drops. This is everything we could hope for. As I was saying, Sunnyvale is a little more varied than our other top 4 opponent. Sunnyvale has kept... oh, interesting. Okay, so I expect that Sunnyvale is on a Sultai Mutate deck, which is a little tough to deal with because it spreads out its threats in a way that I don't really like. I don't like playing against, I should say. So I'm actually going to kill the token. I know that looks really weird, but it's because it provides this mutate target, and I want to be on curve for everything that I'm doing. And I'm going to play this because I don't need something specific right now, and I just want to get a card before I have to make a more specific choice. Further, I'd like to be attacking for more points of damage. So Sultai Mutate actually might be pretty tough. However, I don't think it's got a really varied removal suite. But it's going to do a lot of the same things my Snowball deck is going to do, and then it's going to, instead of... I need to get a land here, so I'm going to play this. That's a little annoying, but okay. It is what it is. Yes, I attack. It does have this additional access of hexproof, similar to how we have hexproof. In this case, this thing will build a 5/5 menace, or it will build a 4/5 flyer with hexproof. Both of which are very annoying to deal with, also because it has a bunch of garbage, similar to the way our deck does. It makes it very difficult to actually get at the hexproof threat. So I'm going to have Riverwinder. My opponent is going to have a kind of roll your own sort of hexproof creature. So this makes sense. It was a little bit hard to predict exactly where Sunnyvale was going to land, as he's previously played some very solid mono-green stompy decks that we've had to play against, and he played Kiln Fiend one week, although I know he didn't like it. So, yeah. Okay, so we're doing it this way. That's fine. And I'm obviously going to exile that at my first opportunity, if it's on curve. It is sort of on curve. That's awkward that we missed something, but hey, we're going to get that out of here. Okay, so it looks like our next turn is probably Rager plus Priest, and that'll give us a lot of answers. The nice thing is that Priest is really good cleanup in this matchup, and it'll be interesting to see if my opponent's also on Priest. I expect that I was playing face up as a general proposition, so this is what Sunnyvale decided was going to give the the best opportunities for him when trying to play against the Snowball deck. Essence Symbiote. Okay, so let's see if I get a shot at killing Essence Symbiote. I do. So in this case, I'm actually going to play Rager plus Moment of Craving. Alright, so he exiles those. That's fine. So we'll kill the Symbiote. And then I'll play Rager, because I still have a removal spell. Sometimes you have to be a little careful with how Priest of the Haunted Edge works. Just because... Ooh, I don't think I want to attack here. It's a little difficult to figure out when you're supposed to attack, but Reaver does put a lot of stuff onto the ground. Probably a Mutate card here. And that'll be interesting. Yeah, so he's probably going to make like a 5/5, yeah. Alright, so I have to discard. I think I have to keep Rager, just from a perspective of that. He can't actually attack very well, so I think what I'm supposed to do here is pitch Priest, because it's the slowest card. And Mire's Grasp, making this a 2/2, effectively removes it as a threat. So I'm willing to play into this. I don't think it causes that much harm if he has to burn a removal spell on one of these. Or if he trades for 2 Ragers. I expect that there probably is a 3-drop removal spell like Cruelty. Okay. I was willing to risk that. Oh, and we get to do this anyway. That's fine. Oh, that's even better. We'll just restock, and then we'll shrink it next turn. Yeah, I would like to just be able to kill it straight up. It's possible my opponent has brought in Snakeskin Veil as a main deck card, which could be kind of cool. Interesting. Maybe I shouldn't have triple blocked. Maybe that was just a little too aggressive, that my opponent isn't going to do anything specific there. I'm just going to let this attack come through and block that one. It's a lot simpler. And then this next turn I'll deploy Cruelty into... I'll probably kill that, just because it's a little too good. If it goes right. Here, we'll murder this. And... yeah, I don't want any part of Symbiote. And I'll crack in for 2. And sure, I'll Bazooka Bog them. That's unfortunately my last bog, but I don't remember what Graveyard Recursion the Sultai deck has. And I accepted that I'm going to take 1 here and go down to 12, and then I'll attack back. So this is a top deck war. I assume my deck is better at this. I will trade the Rager for the Elf. That's interesting. When you don't have any attacks and you don't have any blocks, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to go Hellbent, just because, as I've previously talked about with this deck, the value of your lands is very high, because any single card you draw off the top could represent several cards depending on what you're able to play and how many cards you're able to draw. So my opponent's on 3 cards, has an instant. When in doubt, just repeat what you did last turn. Make your opponent make the same choice, and I'll play this land. And I don't feel like activating this. This is Priest is just waiting at -6/-6 right now. Also, I needed this extra land in case I wanted to recur an instant or sorcery with Sanctuary. Okay, so my opponent has a lot of thriving lands. And... oh, my opponent is just... this is what they do to avoid showing me whether they have instants and sorcery. We talked about this the last time we played Sunnyvale. But he uses full control. He doesn't necessarily have something. I'll take Priest. And I think at this point I'll crack Priest. Debating on whether it's better to have 2 removal spells. So here, what we're just going to do is send the Rager. The fact that my opponent just keeps taking the damage is really weird. I think I'm just going to pass, because I'd like to hold the Priests, and I want to avoid having a situation where my opponent plays something that I need to kill, and is able to cruelty one of the priests. So see, if this is a whatever creature, I don't have to discard, and I can just kill it. Yeah, so that's why they just played it straight up, because they realize it's just going to die. Oh, that's really good. Alright, so we're just going to jam this to begin with. Alright, now we're golden. We'll kill this. And I'm going to make the same attacks because I actually have to remove the visionary before something else. Okay, so now we got the visionary trade. Now I get to draw some cards. I might choose not to play this land. I might kind of break my own rule to avoid avoid having to discard 2 in the wrong situation. We'll just see what my last card I draw is. And I'm playing into Suffocating Fumes. I just don't think the Suffocating Fumes is going to be main decked by a lot of people anymore. I think it's very good, but it's not quite where one needs to be. So I should have this game at this point. I imagine that my opponent has either flooded out or something else happens. They've seen 21 cards and they are showing 5 8 lands, so that's about average. Okay, again, I'll crack Priest. I'm going to draw cards first, though. Once you get into Secrets territory, you just draw so many cards with this deck. Okay, and we've got Wander in Death for a million things. So let's crack the Priest, kill this. I have enough to play the Serpent, so I'm just going to crack in with all my people and play Serpent, because there's no Wraths. And then next turn I can develop my board appropriately. Yeah. Okay, so we've got game 1 of the finals, and we switch over to game 2. And here, let's switch this back. What would I want against this type of a deck? So I'm worried about the hexproof threats. I expect that my opponent has enough stuff that maybe cutting a Wander in Death might be right. We're going to have more early interaction, and I think possibly either a Murder or a Libation is more appropriate. I'm going to bring in the Libation, I think, at this point. I could also try and bring in Duress is pretty bad against my opponent. Memory Leak is probably okay, but I'm not sure I want to be on that strategy. I think also cutting a Moment of Craving for another Libation is good. It just helps me split my early removal and my late removal. While I do want to kill stuff like Essence Symbiote early, I need to be careful about the later game and making sure that a Hexproof Flyer doesn't just kill me. It's possible I need to shave one more Craving, but Essence Symbiote is worth taking care of early on. I do have a lot of removal, and there's only so much that, like, 2 Libations is probably fine. The problem is with this deck, and that's one thing I think Sunnyvale has done very well, is that he's balanced the hexproof threats versus the non-hexproof threats. And that means you really have to have a varied set of removal to deal with it. It's not like the my opponent is mulliganed. It's not like the old hexproof decks where you had to remove a very minimal number of creatures. This one you have to remove a ton of creatures, similar to how my deck is a hexproof deck, which it isn't really, but it has a hexproof threat that is very difficult to deal with. Okay. So I'm just going to start off on an island because it doesn't matter, and then I expect I'll get to Craving into Seagate, and we'll just be off to the races here. My opponent's not on Snowlands, so that means that they're actually not on Priest. I should have noticed that before. I'm not sure what I think of that, but I think it probably makes sense. My opponent is trying to be more aggressive when their 2 drops are Essence Symbiote and mine are Lampad and whatever else, then obviously that changes things a little bit. So I'm going to try and find a land here. Obviously here's the hexproof threat that I'm going to have to deal with at some point. My opponent's not on a lot of cards, though, which is going to be a problem for them. I need the land, just based on everything. And then on the next turn, it's like Ice Tunnel plus Moment of Craving, maybe? Or maybe Lampad. We'll see which way I go. I think it depends on how my opponent develops the board. I do want to remove some of my opponent's cards in order to develop a little bit better. Okay. So now we've got to deal with the 4/4 Menace, but it's on the ground, so that's good. I think I don't want Lampad. Like, I think it just doesn't do enough based on this whole thing. But hold on, I might not have time is an interesting thing. So I'm going to spend my turn momenting this, probably. Yeah, I think it has to be Lampad that I discard. So I take 4, and then I go up to 20 again. Here, let's see what we've got. If it's like a creature, I probably play something. Okay, so it's a non-creature, but I want to have something on 5 more than I want to have something here. So we're going to kill this. Yeah, see, they're just on full control. So because there's no point in bluffing anything, because I can't block anyway, I might as well get in my point of damage, which, as I've mentioned, every single point matters. Okay, so next turn, what do I do? I think it depends. I'd probably play Salvager, and I just have to take some beats from the Cavern Whisperer as I develop. I probably play Salvager, bring back Moment of Craving. Then the next turn after that, I can Secrets plus whatever, and try and develop into something. Is my opponent just going to give this flying as well? And just go all in? That's really risky. Like, if I have Libation here, it might be that I should bring in another Libation because of situations like this. Oh, you're just going to make me discard 2 cards. Oh, we're all in on this. Okay, so I don't need Cruelty, and I don't think I need Secrets because I'm... oh, I have to do this one at a time, obviously. I don't need Secrets because Salvager is Secrets, effectively. So then I take 4. And my opponent is probably missing a land, I would guess. Yeah. Yeah. Come on, click OK. Alright, so I have to get Secrets, and then I have to crack in. If my opponent has a Heron this next turn, it means I'm going to have to draw exactly Libation, and that's going to be tough, but it's going to be game-breaking if I get it. But my opponent is missing blue mana right now, so for whatever that's worth. So I think for my next game I will bring in another Libation just because the downside of these creatures is so high. And I'll figure out something to cut for it. So 5, 6, 7, there's nothing I can do. I'll just draw the cards. Play that, play this, and I just can't attack here. Because I need to wait. Difficult position. This is what I expected. But I didn't quite expect it to be this aggressive. So I should be a little more careful in where I go with this. The curve of Hexproof 3 into Mutate 4 is really good. So I have to avoid like Island into Heron, as that's just going to make it all the more difficult. Probably need a value creature on my next turn, and that'll give me a lot of room to play. The problem is I'm just so... Wow. I'm just so soft to where everything is right now is the problem. The nice thing is this deck doesn't have reach. So I definitely can develop things a little bit here. Okay. That's good. This gives me enough stuff to do what I want to do. That was a very good set of draws because it gave me exactly enough power to, to quadruple block. And now I get to start developing in the air, and we get to see if any of this works. So I do have Wander and Death, which is pretty nice, and I might have to do a recursion loop in a second. But for right now, I think I just pass. Yeah, I think I pass, and then I potentially sacrifice something. Okay, Symbiote is fine. I'll probably kill that, though. Oh, I can't afford to do a sacrifice loop right now, just because of where I'm at. So instead, I'm just going to develop my board as much as possible. And I am going to attack for 2, just because I don't have anything else to do. And I need to start getting in those points of damage. And I'm actually not as far as you would think away from killing my opponent, because I have 7 points of damage on the board from Lampad. And I do have the mana for it. If I just wanted to jam almost all of that, or actually all of it right now, I would be able to. So I have to hope that there isn't like a Heron or something else. Okay, so now my opponent's just trying to make a second threat, get a land, get an island, and I have to hope that this isn't Heron. And that's very good. That obviously should just seal it. And then we get to turn all our creatures sideways. And that should be game. As when I untap, I represent lethal on the board. Okay. And so we made it. We managed to win Season 3 of the Plague League Championship. And that was very well played by my opponent. I think they made a really good deck choice. I really like Sultai. And I will see you for more of Season 4. We'll see if I can continue the streak. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you soon.